especially when you wake up early and you are going to go to work, and suddenly it rains like uh, it rains
Mm-hmm.
heavy. It's hard to adjust your mood to go to work.
Okay. I agree. Yeah, it's better to stay in bed rather than going to work. If the
Of
weather
course.
is cold and it's good to stay at home. Okay.
Mm.
Well, I feel the same way, but in a good way. It's like, well, there's kind of feeling of refreshment if it's rain for me. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so it's just the weather. So what about work? How your work?
Um, it's a quiet day. I think it's probably most of uh, people take a leave today,
Mm-hmm.
so our office room is quiet, and there were seldom phone came
Mm-hmm.
in.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's a simple day.
Okay. What's with the um? What's is there any occasion why you mentioned there's a lot who filed for vacation?
Mm, you mean they went to
Yeah.
vacation? Mm, I don't know. I think maybe because of the
Okay.
weather, especially
Mm-hmm.
today is Monday. So yeah, I think there are many people don't want to go to work, so they just
Mm-hmm.
take a leave.
Okay. Okay. Is there any typhoon in Taiwan? Not yet, but
Yet.
it's just raining because right now here in our place now it didn't rain the entire week. Well, it does rain, but it's just drizzling. It's not that they have a
Oh,
rain. So, and it's warm or it's hot again here. Yeah.
oh, even it's
Well,
rain.
after raining, then that's the weather tends to feel a bit cold. But what
Mhm.
I'm saying here, since it didn't rain for the past few days, so the weather it's warm or it's hot. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Alrighty. So we've been discussing about materials, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Then can you remind me or refresh me what was the last time we have discussed?
It went to about 3 weeks
Mm-hmm.
ago. We have discussion on the first paragraph. Just finish a practice in
Mm-hmm.
part one.
Okay.
We discussed about what the benefits of recycling.
Okay. And
And and and and we discuss about those materials. Uh, what did I uh, think of those materials?
okay. So right now, what we're gonna do is discuss the problems of recycling, right? Do you think there is any problems when it comes to recycling? Okay, like
Yeah.
what? Let's start.
like the
All right.
cost. Yeah, if you are going to recycle something, it means it will cost you to do it.
Okay, can you give me an example? What are the materials that you need to spend money if you need to recycle it?
Um, well, for example, uh, like iron, if you are going to recycle it and reuse it, you need to uh, collect them first, and it will cost you for the traffic and for the
Mm-hmm.
manpower, and then you you need to have the equipment to melt it so you can reuse it or rebuild it to another product.
What is the material again that you mentioned, Sean? Iron?
Iron,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, what else?
Iron and steel,
Mm-hmm.
copper,
I'm sorry, copper?
copper, copper,
Oh,
copper,
it's
just like
copper.
this.
Yeah.
Copper, okay.
What about the, usual materials?
Usual
All right,
material.
like this, plastic, glass, rubber. So, so these are actually,
Yeah, and
these are
aluminum.
actually the best examples. So for some, of
Mm.
course, there are no any problems. For example, kitchen waste, like peeling of vegetables, fruits. You don't need any cost for that, right? Okay. So
Yeah,
aside from cost, what else?
and uh, pollution maybe.
Okay. In what way?
Um, well, I'm not sure about it, but I think some of materials, if you are going to burn it or melt it, it probably will generate generate poison here.
Okay. Or, if we're gonna burn the materials, it produces smoke or carbon dioxide. Yeah, okay. If
Yeah.
you burn those materials, it produces smoke or carbon dioxide. So these tend to be toxic, you know.
Oh,
hmm
toxic. Yeah, the
So
word
it tends to
toxic.
be toxic if you're gonna burn those materials. And of course, it will impact the health of people. But technically, that's actually the purpose why we need to recycle. Um, we tend to avoid burning things, right? So there. And
Yeah.
what else? Top 3 problems of recycling. I've watched certain news, or it's a video in Facebook. There is a certain hello. Oh, okay, there. I thought it was disconnected. So there is actually a certain place in Japan that every materials or everything that they use, there is a designated container or plastic where they're gonna, segregate these materials. And since everything that they need to segregate, they need to put in a container. So they actually have one problem for that. If everything, that's actually the cleanest place that I've, in Japan, because everything, they are on zero garbage or zero trash in Japan. That's why they are, top one of place in Japan who do recycling. But they have one problem because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you segregate everything, you have all containers for each things, and your place is just small, where are you gonna place those things?
Oh.
Yeah, place, or what particular word, term for that? Area or
Area?
Space. Yeah, so if you could see houses in Japan, they're not that big, right? Or maybe for those who are rich, they have bigger houses. But for small city, they only have small lots or small houses. So if they're gonna maximize or recycle everything that they're using, even a toothpaste tube, they need to put or have a designated container for that. So it will consume space. And let's say if you're gonna using a toothpaste, of course you will not use or you cannot finish the toothpaste in just a day. Of course that takes, maybe weeks, even months if you're buying a bigger toothpaste tube. So there. Alright, so those three or some, well that's just problems of recycling, but of course there are still more. Okay. So next, let's go with the next word. It is demolishing buildings. What do you mean by demolish?
Demolishing buildings.
Polish?
To polish something.
Exactly. So if is there a certain part in Taiwan that, for some, let's say, buildings that are no longer being used? Yeah? Or are there any abandoned hospitals in Taiwan?
Maybe, but it has a lot of abandoned houses around everywhere, I think. Or no one live in there, and the owner probably disappear, or the owner doesn't want to pay for.
All right, so there. Normally, what they do to those abandoned buildings or built houses or buildings that are no longer being used, so they demolish it. So let's start with the benefits of demolishing old buildings.
Demolishing old buildings can remove the old one and remove the baked one, or the one no one wants to live in there. So it can can take you a new scene.
What about when it comes to materials? What can you get from demolishing buildings or old buildings?
Oh, I think that would
okay.
It would
well,
have
this is for
timber.
Houses that are built from woods. Okay. So what can you do about this? For timber, yeah.
And timber.
Okay, but you tag this as under benefits.
Of situation would be burned. Okay. Timber, like some furniture made of timber, you can still reuse it, like a table, a chair.
Okay, timber.
Which made of timber.
Be reused to make table or table, chairs, and furnitures. Okay, what else? Okay, yeah. These are structural steel. Okay, what about steels?
Steel can it can be recycled to build another building. Or some artists would use it to become another
statue or arts.
Statue or something.
Instead of become.
Yeah.
To make another arts or statue. Okay, good. Next, what else? What about those concrete? Yeah, the concrete that was actually been used.
Concrete. Yeah.
Well, technically, concrete can be used, or for some, they can crushed and reused it. For example, in asphalt. Do you know this word, Shaun? Asphalt?
No, asphalt. Oh,
right. So it says here, for example, in asphalt for road surfing. So they can actually crush it and they can add it. Yeah, so that's actually one of the things for some, if they wanted to use concrete. Okay, what else? There are actually a lot when it comes to demolishing buildings.
Concrete, steel, timber.
So what are the things can they get from buildings, demolished buildings? Okay. Well, when it comes to the structure itself,
Old furniture.
The things that was put on a building. So what about electrical wires? So like here we have copper, right? So,
oh yeah, electrical wires. Yeah. Yeah.
electrical wires. What else? Okay.
And plum.
I'm sorry. Plum? Plum? Oh, plum.
Plum. Plumber. Plum.
Is that the word? Plum? Okay. What about with plum?
Yeah, plum. If it doesn't you can still cut cut it to different size to reuse it to another place.
Okay. So last, we still have one more. For some, they're actually good buildings, so they have a good quality. Good quality bricks. Yeah, bricks. So for good quality bricks can sometimes yeah, so there. So that's all benefits of demolishing buildings. Well, when it comes to problem, is there any kind of problem when it comes to demolishing buildings? Okay, well, that's one. When it comes to but when it comes to the recycling part, it doesn't have, right? Yeah, because we tend to focus on what are the things that we can recycle from, this type of or demolished buildings. In US or in the USA, they have certain type of, trying to demolish buildings. I've watched a certain, well, this is in I think it's a news or it's like a CNN. What they actually do is they gonna use dynamite. Yeah, so they're gonna implant dynamite on these old buildings, and once they hit the trigger, try to turn on those dynamites, the building will just automatically crash, going down, downwards. So it's just one click, or one snap from your finger, then the building will automatically crash down or collapse. So that's actually their style or their process on how they're gonna recycle or demolish buildings in the USA. Yeah, but for some, well, like for us, sometimes we tend to be, being at par or being late when it comes to technology, of course, because like you mentioned, problem is cost, right? So, of course, if our government doesn't have any money to provide, to certain, for example, like this type of buildings, old buildings. So of course, sometimes it will just stay there, for a long time without being demolished. But then, of course, it's gonna be eyesore, or it doesn't look good, or it can be dangerous also. Yeah. So I agree with you when you say, abandoned houses or people no longer stay there or they don't have any money to rebuild it. So I agree with you when you mentioned that earlier. Alrighty, so we're good when it comes to demolishing buildings. Next, we have recycling electronics.
Yeah. Recycling electron.
Anything that's our, electronics.
Television or something like that.
Can be cell phones, electron. Because before, cell phones have removable batteries. So of course you cannot just throw that in your trash can, right? Because it tends to be dangerous. And of course for batteries also. So for this, when it comes to recycling electronics, we will go more into the problem of recycling. So when it comes to batteries of cell phones, old cell phones, televisions, anything, that are built or it has electronic components. So can you provide 3 or maybe just 2 problems of recycling for this?
Problems. It's
I agree. Yep. And
it's not easy.
Why is it not easy to recycle?
For example, like an old television, if you are going to recycle it, you need to open it up and take every part is valuable out, but
Okay.
it
So it's
takes
not easy
time
to
and it needs
recycle, and it
technique to do it.
takes time. Okay. So technically, when it comes to recycling electronics, it is the problem here is it's quite difficult due to, you know, it is quite difficult due to separating very small components. Separate. Oh no, I'm sorry. So what are these very small components that are actually difficult? So you mentioned your example is television, right? So what are the things that, it's hard to separate? Wires, okay.
The wired inside. Yeah, and the board. I don't know how to say it.
I don't have any idea.
Like the board inside the
Yeah,
computer.
okay. So we'll just tag as board. Okay, we also have...
Yeah, no idea.
Screen.
Okay.
We also have heavy
Screen.
metals. Yeah, for some, like, let's say, X-ray machines, gadgets or machines that are used in the hospital, if it's no longer working, right? So there are heavy metals. We also have lead or leads.
Yeah.
Okay, I've also searched some of the difficult or pollutant, or what they call this, can be dangerous, or they tag as potential pollutants or chemicals. So one of this is cadmium and chromium.
Cadmium.
So I've researched on this, these two, or technically these three examples or small components that are actually difficult separating this, but they have certain techniques, like you mentioned, on how to recycle this materials or these heavy metals. Yeah, so there. But of course, they're still able to, to recycle this. All right. Next, let's go with scrapping cars. So just a photo, first photo of our book. You can see there are a lot of cars. Yeah. So let's start first with the benefits for scrapping cars.
Yeah. Benefits for scraping cars. There are many components you can.
I'm sorry.
Take it apart and reuse
Tire,
it,
okay.
like tire.
Yeah, you can reuse this.
Like tire.
What else?
And the engine inside, you can reuse the engine or to
okay.
to
So it's more of
metal.
Well, technically a lot of metal you can take out from cars, or also have or steel. So this can be recycled.
Yeah.
Alright, next. So you mentioned about the engine, right? If the engine or the engine is still intact, for some, what do they do? For old cars, if the machine or the engine is still working, what do they do?
They would use it to they will take it to
or okay,
build another.
So we actually call that as intact parts. So if the engine is still intact, so that's one of the example. So for some, they recover it and sell it, right? So there. So for old cars, so they normally take those engines, especially if it's working, or for some parts, intact parts. I don't know what are the other parts of cars. So what other example can you give here, Shaun? Intact parts. Okay. Radio.
Engine and radio. Yeah, radio which set up inside the car, and
okay, but well, that's already out. Let's focus more on the cars itself. Yeah, what are like your example earlier? Tires.
Okay. Yeah, tires.
I'm sorry.
And maybe the
okay, the glass. Okay. Next, let's go with the problems of recycling.
Okay. Still, it needs a a big space to put cars.
Okay. Next, what about oil? The brake fluids.
Oh, you need to collect those oil to
Well, it's not actually
recycle.
you're gonna recycle this, but these are potential pollutants also. So here it's actually hard to dispose. So that's actually one of the problem, like oil, right? You
Uh-huh.
you cannot recycle oil,
Yeah.
or you can maybe, but technically they dispose this, right? So for some, for a concerned citizen, they will definitely dispose it carefully without damaging certain, let's say, or nature maybe. Because for some, they will just dispose or throw it in the river or in the ocean, or let's say, and what do you call this? Those drainage where waters are being, yeah. So of course, if oil can be mixed into water, of course it's gonna be dangerous, right? So we have oil, brake fluids, and also battery. Battery acid. Of course, if it's no longer working, then how are you going to dispose this?
Yeah, battery.
Of course, you cannot sell dead battery. So for this part, they need to carefully dispose. So they need to dispose this carefully. And lastly, one more. When it comes to tires, exactly.
Oh, still, tires is hard to dispose.
Hard or difficult? Instead of hard, you use difficult to recycle. But for some artists, going back with their artist, how do they, have you seen any artist who make tires as a canvas or as an art? Okay.
Yeah. It's usually be
Okay.
used to be
Like what?
art.
Let's try to, let's enlighten the mood. I'm a bit, you're trying to, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
So it's like
this topic is just
I know you're already tired and
understandable.
I'm giving you a lot more things to think. Giving me more examples. I know. I know.
I'm trying to
I think
understand it.
I'm giving a hard time for Shaun.
Oh no, it's okay. It's just really not
Okay.
familiar with
See. Now,
this
since
kind
you're
of
not that too
vocabularies
familiar
or
with this,
phrases.
but of course, it's adding to your vocabularies, to your, yeah. And sometimes you could say, "Oh, toxic," so it ring a bells.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. All right. So,
Actually,
do you have
really.
any joke? So we can laugh a bit. No, no, none so far. Next time you bring some jokes, okay?
Not now.
Well, because you know
Yeah.
the time of the day,
Okay.
your mood, of course. Um, I don't want that our class. It's it's a bit. You're tired, and then I'm giving more pressure for you to think.
Oh no no no! It's just it's just
Uh,
to this this kind of subject just like a stranger for me. So I
okay.
think I need to spend some time before the class and try to understand those words and then we can have class in
Okay. Yeah, that's why I'm
easier
already giving you
way.
this, some of the examples for you, so it's not that hard for you to, in some way, trying to help you. Well, technically, you should be talking more.
Wow. Yeah. I think why I'm not familiar with this, it's just because
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's seldom to be taught or to discuss
Mm.
daily life or even in the movie, in the series. Uh, yeah, they don't specific
They
talking about
don't specifically
these words.
talking about this words. Okay, they don't specifically talks about these words.
Specifically.
Okay. So, this is a good
Okay.
material then. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's fine
I
though.
I will
You don't
prepare
need,
it in
well, if you
advance
want to. I know
next
you're that
time.
kind of a industrious person and prepared in some way. Okay. But of course, when it comes to recycling cars, of course, you will have
Hmm.
idea. Now, going back to recycling cars, what are you gonna do with your dad's old car? Does your dad has an old car?
Yeah, and he will drive it to be disposed
Oh
when
yeah, I
we
remember you mentioned about it.
go to take our new car.
Mm, yeah, it's almost close.
And it
Ooh,
would
you're gonna get your
happen
new
2 weeks
car.
later, about July 14th. I'm really nervous to drive that car.
Right,
I
it is.
mean, wow, that's a Lexus, and
Well,
wow, it's
you
twice
worked hard
price
for it.
than my current one.
Wow, and at your age, wow, you handled, having a Lexus car.
Uh, but
That it's for real?
I really can't imagine. Yeah, I I mean, well, at first I just
Mm-hmm.
say, "Hey, Dad, you need to change a new car. Your car is too old. So come on, let's go. Let's go to uh, visit those vendors and try to pick a new car for you." And suddenly, we
Mm-hmm.
decided
Mm-hmm.
to buy the new car, and then the owner is not my dad,
You
it's
know,
me.
if that's the
Hey,
case, then if you have
it's too
that
weird.
car, maybe you need someone. Is this for real? Someone to slap you in the face. Say, I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming.
Yeah, but yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be true. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still. I just told my friend,
Mm.
hey, I
Okay.
already
And
bought a
then,
car, which is supposed to be bought when I'm 40.
wow.
Yeah.
See, you're even
And
exceeding
then
your
now I'm only
goal.
32. I bought my 40 years old car. Yeah,
Do you want me to beat you?
yeah, but
I'm just
who knows?
kidding.
It's
Okay,
just not real for me.
let's then. You know, I can't imagine what's gonna, how, your facial expression. But well, I want to
Okay.
congratulate you in advance because your hard work pays off, and I'm impressed on that. Yeah, I'm impressed because, like I mentioned,
Thank you.
you're exceeding your goal. You have plans in
Right?
advance, but like you said, you want to have your own car by the age of 40, but you're just what, 30 years old
Mm,
and you have a car? And then even, it's even more what you have. I mean, the car that you can't imagine, Lexus, like you said. See? So that's that's actually a prize or gift to yourself in
yeah.
some way. Okay. Yeah. So still, see your reaction also, how you answered. You still can't
Uh,
believe it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, that's it for now, Sean. I want you to take a rest. I don't want to give you a hard time thinking about recycling. Alrighty. Have a great evening, Sean. You take
Okay.
care. Bye.
No, no, it's just me. Okay. Thank you. Bye.